from the Show Me State. I gotta watch it again. Start it over.
Before the last couple games or anything? What do you think? I'm over here. Sorry. Hi, It's okay. Do you changing your routine the last couple games or something? What do you feel like is going into your hot run of shooting here?
It's called a PRP shot from the elbow. I do think that, just having a little bit of struggle with my elbow, but really did get that fixed, and now I'm starting to stay in my.
During a post-game interview, a reporter asked Sophie Cunningham whether she had adjusted her routine over the past several games. Noting her recent hot stretch shooting the ball, Cunningham mentioned receiving a PRP injection in her elbow, explaining that she had been dealing with some discomfort there, but it had since been resolved, allowing her to settle back into her shooting form. She added that the improvement wasn't just about her individually, the team as a whole had started finding better rhythm, sharing the ball more effectively, and that strong defensive play was creating easier opportunities on the offensive end. Her mention of the elbow procedure drew attention online, with viewers reacting strongly to the offhand way she brought it up. Some pointed out Kelsey Mitchell's visible reaction in the background during that moment, joking that Mitchell appeared nervous about what her teammate might say next. Given Cunningham's reputation for being candid and unfiltered with media, the reporter followed up, noting this was the most points the team had scored in a game that didn't go to overtime, and asked what was working so well offensively. Cunningham credited the defense, saying the team's pace was the key factor.
Struggle with my elbow, but really did get that fixed, and now I'm starting to stay in my shot a little bit. But also, I think our team's just starting to catch a little bit of rhythm. We're seeing what works. We're sharing the ball. Defensively is allowing us really good offensive runs, and so I don't think it's just me. I think it's our team as a whole.
You just touched on it with the defense into offense, but this is the most points you guys have ever scored in a non-overtime.
Somebody said, look at Kelsey Mitchell's face. Kelsey Mitchell was praying to God Sophie Cunningham didn't say nothing wrong. I did peep her face. I did peep Kelsey's face. Where's the time marker? We had 37 seconds.
She pointed to strong defensive communication, sticking to scouting reports, and recovering well when assignments broke down. She said limiting opponents to one shot per possession allowed the team to generate transition opportunities, and that when Mitchell or another key ball handler had the ball moving, it opened things up for everyone else on the floor. Mitchell was then asked about her years playing alongside Caitlin Clark and what made Clark's playmaking. She finished with 14 assists that night easier for her teammates to play off of. Mitchell said the approach is about playing within space, cutting effectively, and making smart reads, crediting Clark as an exceptional passer for a guard and emphasizing how the two play off one another. Asked about a stretch where the game tightened up before the team pulled away again, Cunningham acknowledged the team had created some of those problems itself. Citing 11 missed layups and 11 turnovers in the first half alone, she noted the team had struggled with similar issues throughout the season but felt real growth was showing. In the second half, she said, the group locked in defensively, took better care of the ball, and got more hands-on deflections and activity, crediting the team for finally stepping on the gas in a sustained way.
I did peep Kelsey's face. Where's the time marker? We had 37 seconds. So look at Kelsey's face here. So Kelsey, hold on. Kelsey, right? Kelsey is praying to God Sophie don't say nothing wrong. Don't say nothing that's going to get you fired or fined. That's the face she's making, bro.
You just touched on it with the defense into offense, but this is the most points you guys have ever scored in a non-overtime game. What did you feel offensively was working so well today?
Our defense. I think our pace was key tonight. Defensively, there was great communication.
It was noted afterward that Cunningham consistently balances praise with honest critique when discussing the team's performance, never shying away from media questions, even when addressing shortcomings, a trait described as reflecting genuine professionalism. Still, turnovers remained a glaring issue. The team finished with 17 for the game after starting with 11 inches the first half, and the opposing team scored 15 points directly off those mistakes, converting nearly every turnover into points. The concern raised was that against stronger opponents, this pattern would likely be punished more severely unless corrected. Asked about the difference compared to the previous 4 games where the team had built double-digit third-quarter leads only to lose them before clawing back, Cunningham said the key was learning from past mistakes and gaining experience from those losses. She emphasized the team's focus on minimizing errors and addressing issues early, crediting film study and a willingness to acknowledge group mistakes as the difference maker this time. Mitchell was then asked whether this performance reflected the growth and improved focus she had discussed previously. Regarding the team working through early season growing pains, She said she viewed it as a solid step forward, but stressed it's an ongoing process rather than something achieved once and finished, given the level of competition faced nightly in the league.
There was great communication. We followed our scout, and when we didn't, we had great communication of how to get it back. And so I really do think we kept them one and done for the most part, and we got to run in transition. So I think when Kelsey's getting the ball, when CAB is getting the ball, it opens up for everyone else, and hopefully we can continue this.
Kelsey, you've been backcourt mates with Caitlin for a few years now. What is it about her ability to set the table that makes things easier for you all 14 assists for her tonight?
Try to play in space.
She talked about the importance of staying even-keeled, not getting too high or too low, and remaining committed to core team values and principles, especially during difficult stretches when it would be easy for confidence to waver. Separately, Clark addressed the media earlier that day, touching on her upcoming signature shoe release. Asked about a friendship bracelet she wore referencing a specific date, she confirmed she has a release date in mind for the shoe but declined to share it publicly, only clarifying it would not be that same day. She was also asked about playing in her 13th game of the season, matching her total games played in the previous season, and reflected on her health progress. She noted, "It was notable that she hadn't strung together 13 consecutive games last year, but had now been able to stay mostly available aside from missing one game," crediting the medical staff and her own support system for helping her build durability. She emphasized the discipline required to compete at a high level in a physically demanding league, noting she's gained more trust and confidence in her body through the season's first quarter, while acknowledging there will always be good and sore days that come with the territory. Asked what having a signature shoe means to her personally and whether she had a favorite shoe growing up, Clark reflected that becoming a signature athlete was never something she expected as a kid.
That makes things easier for you all 14 assists for her tonight.
Try to play in space, try to cut, make the right reads. I think, she could unbelievable passer as a guard, and so you just want to try to make things easier by just playing off each other, really.
And then this game did, or so for you, this game did get a little tighter there for a while. What allowed you all to pull away?
I think we did that to ourselves. We had 11 missed layups. We had 11 turnovers in the first half, and we were kind of shooting ourselves in the foot. And honestly, we've kind of been doing that all year, but I think everyone's starting to see our growth. We came out in the second half, and we played great.
She recalled simply wearing whatever Nike model was available, including an early pair of pink Jordans and a basic pink Nike basketball shoe with no special branding. She said having her own signature shoe now means a lot, expressing hope that young fans, regardless of gender or whether they play basketball, can wear it and feel inspired to chase their own goals, comparing the feeling to a sense of personal expression and empowerment. She mentioned that she felt that same expressive quality wearing Kobe-branded shoes during her college years at Iowa and into her professional career, and that she hopes to take that to another level with her own signature line. She was then asked about teammate Aaliyah Boston's growing leadership role this season. Clark said Boston has become one of the most vocal presences in team huddles, often the first voice heard, building on the responsibility she carried as a primary ball handler the previous year. She explained that playing point guard requires strong communication and alignment with coaching staff, and that experience has translated into Boston's leadership now, where her voice is consistently present, whether during games, timeouts, in the locker room, or even on practice days, something that's continued to develop naturally from last season. Asked about the development process behind her shoes technology with Nike over roughly the past 3 years, Clark called the experience amazing and fun, describing a back-and-forth creative process full of innovation.
We came out in the second half, and we played great defense. We kind of valued the ball a little bit more, and you saw the ball was popping. Everyone was kind of getting their hands on it. And so I'm just proud of us, and we finally put the pedal to the metal a little bit, and I think we all felt that as a whole.
One thing about Sophie, she's always going to bring up the bad with the good. And that's what makes her a true professional, true pro at her sport, is that Sophie never hides away from addressing the areas where the team need to improve.
She recalled seeing the final design and immediately knowing it was the right one, saying she pushed Nike to create something she'd be proud of and that she believes people will want to seek out. She said she'd have more to share once she actually starts wearing them in games. She was also asked to reflect on a recent moment where a young girl ran up and hugged her leg after a game, and what that moment meant in terms of her growing legacy. Clark called it a touching moment that came shortly after a tough loss in Portland, noting that young fans don't care about wins, losses, or stats. They connect with something beyond performance. She said while she always wants to perform well for her teammates, organization, and fans, moments like that serve as reminders that her impact extends far beyond box scores or championships, adding that even if her career ended immediately, she'd know she made a meaningful impact on people, which she called a grounding and important perspective. Finally asked about being named Eastern Conference Player of the Week, Clark said she views individual accolades as a reflection of how the team as a whole is playing, crediting her teammates for making her success possible.
Away from addressing the areas where the team need to improve. And she's never not answering a question from the media, bro. I give her that too. She's a true professional, but just like we stated in the first part of the stream chat, these turnovers, they have to fix them. They had 11 in the first half alone. They finished the game with 17 turnovers. They scored 15 points. The Tempo did off these 17 turnovers. That is a lot of buckets, bro. That's giveaway points. We cannot sit here and allow this to go on throughout the duration of the season.
She acknowledged ongoing conversations about the team's tendency to let big leads slip away and the lack of decisive blowout wins this season, framing it as part of adapting to a difficult league, but noted that winning close games builds valuable late-game experience that should pay off down the stretch. The broadcast then shifted focus to another contested officiating moment from the game, which drew additional criticism online regarding the WNBA's referee performance. The Indiana Fever's matchup against the Toronto Tempo wrapped up as a genuinely sluggish watch overall, heavy on half-court possessions under Stephanie White's system, the kind of contest that tested viewer patience throughout. Once the final box score updated after the buzzer, attendance figures came through, and the number stands out as likely among the 5 lowest crowds ever recorded for a Caitlin Clark game with Indiana since she entered the league. Just over 15,000 fans showed up to the arena, leaving roughly 2,257 seats unsold for the night. For anyone who thinks the criticism directed at this version of the team has been too harsh, the attendance trend tells its own story. Pretty clearly, fans are voting with their spending habits and their willingness to show up, and right now that vote suggests this particular style of play isn't drawing them in the way it once did.
This season, because when they run up against these top-notch teams, they're going to get destroyed. Those teams are going to build momentum, and they're going to punish the Fever for those turnovers. They have to fix it today.
Review, just along that same vein, this is the first game, and I think it's the past 4 games you had that 10-point lead in the third, lost it, then came back, but you hung on to the lead this time. Just what was the difference today versus the last 4 games?
Try to learn from your mistakes. I think that's the best way to put it.
Sophie Cunningham was the clear bright spot of the night by a wide margin, particularly erupting during the fourth quarter when the game was still genuinely up for grabs. Worth noting, too, once Brittany Sykes went down with an injury midway through, Toronto had actually been fully competitive and engaged up to that exact point in the contest, but the energy on their bench and the floor visibly dropped off afterward. And that's roughly the moment Indiana started pulling away for good and never really looked back. Starting with Clark's overall stat line for the night. A double-double on the surface looking at it. With 21 points, 14 assists, and 5 rebounds logged, the shooting numbers underneath that, though, were genuinely rough. 5 for 1-5 from the field overall, just 1 for 8 from beyond the arc, and 6 turnovers mixed in as well. A genuinely difficult shooting performance across the board for her specifically, even with the assist total looking strong. Cunningham, meanwhile, went off for 24 points in just 24 minutes of total floor time, shooting an efficient 8-4-1 overall, while connecting on 6 made threes off 6 of 7 shooting specifically from deep, while also adding 6 rebounds and 2 assists to round out her line.
Or I guess in this case, the bottom 5 worst attended games of Caitlin Clark's career with the Indiana Fever. 15,017 fans. And I would have to look that up. That's got to be close to the lowest attended game ever is with Caitlin Clark actually playing. That's 2,257 empty seats, unsold seats for this game. So
Kelsey Mitchell chipped in a strong 27 points on 9 of 1-1 shooting from the field, and Aaliyah Boston quietly notched yet another double-double with 18 points and 11 rebounds, a stat line that's easy to overlook entirely given how unassuming and understated her overall game has looked across recent outings. There had been chatter circulating earlier, suggesting Cunningham deserved a spot in a 3-point shooting contest given how well she's been performing from deep lately, and tonight's performance only reinforced that point further. This whole stretch mirrors closely how last season actually opened for her specifically, when she went on a roughly 6-week stretch of genuinely hot, almost unconscious three-point shooting that arguably played a real, tangible role in the team sneaking into the playoff picture by season's end. Looking back at her shooting splits from that particular stretch last year, the numbers were genuinely absurd by any reasonable standard. Based on tonight's showing, it now looks like a similar hot run may be starting to build up all over again this season. Worth being fully honest about the broader in-arena atmosphere too, this particular crowd stayed flat, quiet, and largely disengaged for most of the night, right up until Cunningham's three-point barrage in the fourth quarter finally got everyone going and energized the building.
You know, for all the people that think we're overly critical, we're trying to tell people that fans they're voting with their money, their pocketbooks right now, that they're not entertained by this brand of basketball. Sophie Cunningham, guys, she was the light of our life tonight. She went absolutely berserk, particularly in the fourth quarter.
On one particular standout possession, Clark managed to split the defense entirely and found Monique Billings cutting to the rim for an easy bucket. At one specific stretch of the game, it genuinely looked like Clark had a realistic shot at reaching a full 20 assists for the night, which would have been a remarkable, historic total had it actually happened. There's also an uncomfortable but fair question worth raising openly at this point. Has the time genuinely come for Cunningham to take over the starting role currently held by Lexi Hull on this roster? That's a sincere, genuine question worth putting out there for discussion, regardless of how it might land with certain segments of the fan base. On one memorable sequence, Clark found Cunningham on a feed that led directly to a clean sidestep three, and Cunningham kept knocking down shot after shot from that exact point forward, including converting a tip-in basket that genuinely deserves assist credit on its own merits. At a certain point during that stretch, it almost looked like she had picked up some kind of mechanical, almost superhuman advantage on that shooting elbow, the way every single shot kept falling effortlessly through the net.
Absolutely berserk, particularly in the fourth quarter. I do want to bring this up. When Brittany Sykes got hurt, the Tempo were all in this game. And then you could tell that deflated the entire Tempo team, and the Fever started pulling away at that point. Let's start here. Caitlin Clark. Well, glass half full, double-double. 21 points, 14 assists, 5 rebounds. The bad?
She fully took over the game from that stretch onward, and that's precisely when Indiana's lead started to balloon out of control, with threes falling in rapid bunches one after another. Before that surge took hold, though, it's worth being genuinely fair to Toronto's roster here. Unlike the earlier matchup against the Portland expansion roster, which genuinely lacked depth and any real recognizable names up and down the lineup, this particular Tempo squad features legitimate, established talent, both Sykes and Marina Mabrey being players with real pedigree and proven track records in this league already. 500 record heading into tonight's matchup against a clearly superior opponent on paper. So while Indiana did ultimately come away with the win on the scoreboard, it was an ugly, grinding, low-pace contest for long stretches of the night. The overall pace and style on display tonight remain a far cry from the up-tempo, highlight-driven brand of basketball that fans typically associate with this roster's true ceiling and potential.
The bad? 5 of 15 from the field, 1 of 8 from three-point range, 6 turnovers. Yikes. It was kind of a rough game, folks. It was. Sophie Cunningham went berserk. 24 points in 24 minutes. 8 of 11, 6 three-pointers. 6 of 7, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. Kelsey had 27 on 9 of 11.
There have been occasional flashes of that more exciting style throughout the season, especially generated directly through Clark's playmaking ability, including several assists tonight that specifically set up open three-point makes for teammates. Doing some rough back-of-napkin math on her overall offensive impact tonight, 21 points combined with 14 assists, even conservatively assuming every single assist led to just a simple 2-point basket rather than a 3, works out to Clark being directly responsible for somewhere around 49 total points of offense generated tonight. She remains an unquestionably dynamic offensive engine for this entire roster without any real debate, even on a night where her own personal shooting clearly struggled across the board. Given how well she's been shooting overall in recent games leading up to tonight, this counts as a fairly forgivable off night, specifically in that one area, especially with Cunningham more than making up the difference on the scoreboard. As for the attendance question, there's a real possibility this ranks as the single lowest attended Indiana Fever game of the entire Clark era. Though that's not confirmed with full certainty, it's safely within the bottom 5 regardless. The crowd came in remarkably close to dipping below the 15,000 mark entirely, missing that threshold by what looks like only a handful of fans.
11, and Aaliyah Boston once again had one of the quietest double-doubles you'll ever hear of. 18 points, 11 rebounds. I had no idea until I looked at this just now that she had a double-double tonight. I said early on, Sophie is showing out. Let's put her in the three-point contest. We know she ended the game the other day shooting the lights out from 3. She shot the lights out from 3 in this game. 3. She shot the lights out from 3 in this game. And this is how last year started, when Sophie Cunningham went on about a 6-week tear that absolutely contributed to this team somehow, some way making the playoffs last year. It was Sophie Cunningham. If you go back and look at her three-point shooting last year for about 6 weeks, she went bananas. Well, it looks like we're starting that all over again. By the way, let's just keep it real. I brought it up during this game. I posted it early on. Until Sophie went absolutely bananas with three-pointers tonight, this crowd was dead. This crowd was not fired up in the least bit. Here we go. Caitlin Clark right here, splitting the D. Let's check it out. Let's check it out right there to Monique Billings. Right there to Monique Billings. And look, Caitlin Clark had 14 assists tonight. You know, at one point I thought Caitlin Clark had a chance to get 20 assists tonight. No kidding. Can we have an uncomfortable conversation about the fact that it's time for Sophie to start over Lexi Hull? There, I said it. I said it out loud. I don't know if I'm supposed to say it, but I said it.